It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hello, I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Sharman this week on the Forum, brought to you by HMC. And our guest this week is Dr. Reese Barrick. He is the director at Sternberg Museum. And Reese, we see you all the time. Of course, Eagle TV, we do our spectacular out there at the Sternberg Museum. But we're out there a lot for other events too. And I know a lot of people from the Hayes area go out to the Sternberg Museum. But one of the cool things about Sternberg Museum is you bring in new exhibits all the time. In fact, you've got a really cool exhibit that's just started out there that's currently running.
That's right. We have an exhibit called the Galapagos, which is actually the North American premiere for that exhibit. And oddly enough, it's an exhibit that came from Zurich, Switzerland.
Well, how do you come up with stuff like this? Because I know you've had some great exhibits over the years, but how do you come up with all these exhibits?
Well, you know, sometimes you have to go hunting for them, and other times there are museums or exhibit companies that are trying to get their exhibits off the ground, and they're actually sending you promotional materials, trying to get you to be one of the first to put their new exhibits up.
Does it cost you guys a lot of money?
It really all depends on the exhibit.
Okay, well, let's go to this Galapagos one that's out there right now. Let's talk about it, because some people may not even know what this Galapagos is all about. So let's talk about where is Galapagos and what's it all about?
Well, the Galapagos is an island chain that's off of the coast of Ecuador in South America. And it's an island chain that is kind of similar to Hawaii. There's a lot of tectonic activity, and there's hot spots of lava that come up through the ocean and build up these mountains that pop through the ocean surface and build up an island chain. And that means that they're sort of hard to reach, and it's been, over the course of millennia, a few animals get storm chased out there on rafts of things, and they become islands that have a little bit of a fauna that gets isolated. And so you get sort of unique types of animals that evolve on these islands, and they're pretty fascinating because for a lot of reasons. One is they're unique and different. Two, they're really sort of tame because they're not used to predators around, and so they're not scared of people. And the third thing is, because they're such unique animals and plants that are there, untouched by, for most of time, humans never got out there. They're a place where Darwin, on the voyage of the Beagle, found, and he found all these unique individuals, and a lot of them helped with his sort of coming up with this theory of evolution. So
I knew Darwin's written a lot about it, so there's a lot out there because of that.
Absolutely. So it's a very fun, unique place.
And of course it is, you know, if you're talking about volcanoes and you're talking about that and being down in that area, probably a pretty tropical area, so it's probably nice year round.
Well, that's the really cool thing about the Galapagos, is that there are these tropical islands, but the ocean currents around them are really fairly cool. And so you do have some tropical fish, but you have penguins there. And it's the only penguins that get north of the equator, because we're right on the equator, just north of the equator. And so there's penguins, there's sea lions, there's all tropical fish, and so it kind of gives you this cool, all kinds of different sorts of ecologies and animals that are around there.
So it sounds like a really cool place to go, and we're going to talk about more of that into the second half of the show. But what I wanted to do now is, since we're talking about Galapagos, and you've got the exhibit now that is at Fort Hays State University Sternberg Museum, let's talk about the exhibit without giving everything away, because we want to be a little bit of a teaser for our audience here, and hopefully they can come out with a family and view it. Maybe even over the holidays they could come out and view it. But let's talk about the Galapagos exhibit a little bit. Is it a pretty big exhibit?
It's a fairly good-sized exhibit, and it's got a combination of sort of videos and artwork, as well as some of animals that and models of some of the animals of the life that's out there. There's a couple of games that you can play.
So some hands-on.
So there's some hands-on things, and so it's kind of a fun thing that gives you a really good idea of what the islands are like, and talks a lot about the conservation that goes on on the islands.
Well, I knew there is a lot of conservation that goes on there, so that's something that's educational for the kids, and also learning about these new species. The kids can learn about that. And then also something a lot of the kids probably don't know about. They've probably heard that word Galapagos, but they don't know where it's at. So I guess you give them a chance to look and see where it's at, and not just the unique animals, but also some common animals that they might see, like you said, penguins and sea lions.
Absolutely. So, and they're very interesting because the islands were so isolated. When humans show up, they bring things that they want to eat. So they bring goats and things, and so they sort of tear up the environment and make it difficult for the life that was already there. And so then humans have to start taking care of conservation and how to keep the islands sort of a little more primitive, so that the life that's originally there can survive, because they really can't compete with anything that we bring onto the islands.
No, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the islands and talk to people about, I guess, seeing a real live exhibit. And we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. But again, our guest is Dr. Reese Barrick. He is the director at Sternberg Museum, and we'll get into more about the Galapagos in the second half of the show right after this from HMC.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
The most exciting yards in football. It's NFL Red Zone from NFL Network. Get every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon. And football doesn't stop on NFL Network. It goes all week.
We're covering it like crazy.
Get NFL Red Zone from NFL Network today.
Add NFL Red Zone so you can watch all the game-defining yards in football. Call us at 877-61-EAGLE today.
Welcome back to the show. This is The Forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman this week. By the way, if you've got any questions about the show or if you've got some guest ideas, Gary would love to hear from you. You can email him at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Today we're talking about the Galapagos with Dr. Reese Barrick. He is the director at Sternberg Museum. And Reese, we've talked in the first half of the show about this Galapagos Islands and all the cool things, and boy, I would love to go to something like that. And people out there, hopefully we've tempted them a little bit about and maybe taunted them a little bit about all the cool things there. But viewers here have a chance to actually go with you on a trip down to the Galapagos Islands. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, exactly. The Galapagos Islands are sort of a bucket list place for me that I want to visit. I've been around to different parts of the world, but I've never been there. And it's such a unique opportunity. Islands are such a special place to be able to go visit, and the Galapagos are unique amongst islands around the world. And you get a chance to also stop in Ecuador, and where we're going to stop and go into cloud forest. So we're at the very top of what would be the Amazon basin, and in the cloud forest is all kinds of a really cool life: hummingbirds, butterflies, all kinds of amazing things that you don't get to see in other parts of the world. And so it's really a sort of a zoological adventure in the different sort of things you get to see, from tropical forests out to islands and beaches and volcanoes. So you get to see rocks and animals. And as a paleontologist, I like rocks and I like animals. And so it's a pretty spectacular place to go. And I thought it would be a really awesome thing to bring people with me.
So there'll be tour guides on this whole thing, professional tour guides?
So we will get there, and there will be some professional tour guides, because you need them. On the Galapagos especially, you need to have professional tour guides because of all of the conservation. You're allowed in certain areas, and other areas you're not. So there will be professional tour guides along the way.
And you're probably doing a lot of walking and stuff like that, so you probably want some people that are somewhat physically fit.
Oh, it helps to be physically fit and active, but a lot of the walks are fairly leisurely, 45-minute walks, or strolls into the forests, but we do get to climb a volcano, so that'll be kind of fun.
That would be neat to see. So there's a chance to go high and to low on this whole thing.
Absolutely. You can be snorkeling in the ocean, and you can be crawling up and peeking in across into the caldera of a volcano that actually last erupted in 2005.
So people can go to this, and can they opt in or out of certain events that you're doing on this whole tour?
Yes, there's a lot of times where we have optional things where people can do some shopping, or they can go do some swimming. There's options to go scuba diving if you'd like. So there's a number of kayaking if you would like to, and so we have a lot of different options that you can participate in or not as you wish.
How do people find out about going on this trip with you?
Well, if you want to find out, you just need to go to our website at sternberg.fhsu.edu, and you'll be able to find on the website all about the trip on the section called Sternberg Outbound. And we'll have all the details and the itinerary for the trip, the costs, and all of that.
So when is the trip taking off?
The trip leaves June 3rd and gets back on June 14th. So the 3rd and the 14th are travel days, and the rest of the time we'll be there.
So about 10-day trip, something like that.
About a 10-day trip.
And then you will fly out of where? Or drive out of?
Probably gonna.
Or is that still being worked out?
Well, the flight right now, the plan is the flight to Ecuador is probably going to leave out of Atlanta. So it's a matter of flying to or driving to Atlanta. That's sort of the cheapest flight to get to Ecuador. But if people want to get there, they can leave from other parts. We have the ability. People will meet you. You get to the hotel from Ecuador, and people will be expecting and meeting you. So if you want to fly from Dallas, or you want to fly from Miami,
and then just link up with all the people from Hayes and the surrounding area. That's right. So,
Exactly.
So if they want to do that, just go to the Fort Hayes web or the Sternberg website and find out more information about it, the cost and the itineraries and all that. And of course, slots are filling up fast. There's only so many that can go, right?
Exactly. We've got we can take about 12 people.
Oh, that's not very many.
So it's not a lot. Because the size of groups that you can take onto the islands is pretty limited. So.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot, and good luck with that. And I guess I better check my calendar to see if I could maybe make it.
Absolutely.
All right. Dr. Reese Barrick with the new exhibit at the Sternberg Museum. It's called the Galapagos Islands. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And, of course, if you want to go on a trip to the real Galapagos Islands with Dr. Reese Barrick, you can do that, too. Check out the website for that information as well. Again, this is The Forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Sharman this week. Thanks for being a part of it. Brought to you by Hayes Med.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications. Our community connected.